Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Human Resources Services interview presentation. We are Group 4. Our group had the opportunity to interview Lisa Levy, who works for the Garden City Library. Lisa has an interesting role at the Garden City Library. She is the manager and carries an official title of Treasurer of Clerk. However, she is also the head of both the Financial Department and the Human Resources Department. But it's important to note the Garden City Library is rather small and doesn't require an entire department for either the financial or human resources aspects, and Lisa alone is able to effectively manage both of these. Due to Lisa's wide range of roles and relating it back to our class specifically, this did make for an interesting interview and an interesting candidate, as we were speaking with someone who is in the human resources career at the level of a governing office. Now, the Garden City Public Library differs in procedures and protocols from the governing office of the City of Garden City, but it is ran by the same administration. But a little about Lisa. She herself is a Bronco alum, graduating from BSU with a bachelor's degree in business accounting. She used this degree to work in several accounting positions for various nonprofits over the years, but ultimately gained an interest in human resources, as similarly to her current position, she filled various human resources roles and responsibilities throughout the years. And because of this, she went back to Boise State, obtaining some human resources certifications and later finding her current career with the Garden City Library. A little bit about Lisa's wide role in human resources. Lisa is in charge of payroll, ensuring that all employees are paid on time and receive their checks within Idaho state law's timeline. She also is the lead in dealing with any potential issues or injuries that come up in the workplace. When in hiring season, she assumes the job of releasing all information for potential hires, as well as coordinating background checks and drug tests for employment. Lisa ensures employees are fully informed of their ever-changing roles and responsibilities as employees of the city. And an extremely important thing she does is ensure that all employees, as well as the governing office of the City of Garden City, are following Idaho state laws as well as Ada County laws. And then furthermore, Lisa oversees benefit administration and the process of any leave that employees require.
The first HR practice which we asked our interviewee Lisa about was information pertaining around the workforce planning and employment section. The first section that we spoke about was the specifics and aspects of regarding staffing. We specifically wanted to cover in our interview was the hiring and recruitment process. As we were aware, this is a city governing office, as the library is part of the City of Garden City, and we assumed that they would follow more strict rules and protocols regarding to how and who they choose to hire during the hiring process. Lisa explained to us that the hiring process is a longer than normal process due to the fact that it is a city job and has more requirements than quote unquote a regular job. Lisa then stated that the hiring and recruiting process is longer just based on the state's rules. For example, the Garden City Library does have education requirements, including a minimum of an associate's degree to become a public services assistant 1, as well as they require their employees to pass a drug and background check. This is mainly due to this being the library's rules, as well as some state rules do require this. The second aspect that we wanted to cover in our interview with Lisa was in the workforce planning section. Specifically, we wanted to understand how the Garden City Library deals with staff coordination between the different departments, as well as how this coordination comes into effect around any volunteer staff that they may have. As we were aware that the Garden City has quite an extensive amount of volunteering options for the public for anybody above the age of 14. The final aspect for the workforce planning section that we discussed with Lisa was employment strategies. We interviewed Lisa about employment strategies mainly because we wanted to understand why an individual would want to work for the Garden City Library above any other libraries in the Treasure Valley area, as there are more than 25 libraries in the Treasure Valley area. As we were aware that the Garden City Library is a small library and has many financial and promotion restrictions due to the smallness of the library. So we wanted to understand why an employee would want to work there above somewhere else. In the first section in our workforce planning and employment was our staffing section. The first question we asked Lisa was how are jobs posted and what would potential employees do to respond to these posts. Lisa was able to inform us that any available positions for the Garden City Library are first posted within the library staff itself. This means an email is sent out to any library staff who currently work at the library, and it gives them an opportunity to be able to transfer positions or to be able to apply for different positions before it is released to the public. If for whatever reason an employee has switched positions or switched shifts, then their position would be released to the public upon the date when the library releases the position for open applications. Lisa stated that open applications to the public would be seen both online on job posting sites such as Indeed, posters on the countertops and the walls of the library, as well as on the library's website, where they advertise the open positions and when to apply. On all of these places, there's information on what the position is, what the hours are, as well as how to respond to these job postings. In this case, for the positions of a public services assistant, one, you would fill out the application, which just has the general information on your job history, your contact information so the company could get in contact with you, as well as attach your resume and your cover letter and email it to Lisa at the Human Resources Department. The second question that we asked Lisa was what were the specific requirements for several different positions. While each position does require different requirements, the lower division position requires you to have a minimum of an associate's degree in any subject, as well as you need to have the ability to pass a drug test and background check. However, it is notable that if you're interested in getting into the higher positions, you will have to have more education. For example, the Public Service Assistant 1, the employees who work at the front desk, only required an associate's degree. If you wanted to become a manager or a Public Service Assistant 2, you would require a bachelor's degree. And if you wanted to become a library manager or supervisor, then you would need to have a master's degree in either library science, English, or communications. The third question we asked Lisa in this section was if there were any career advancement opportunities. As I stated before, there are different positions which people are allowed to get into, but it is very notable that the Garden City Library is a very small library compared to many of the other libraries in the valley. So there are few career opportunities, which is why the library does annual raises for all the staff twice a year, once on the anniversary of their employment and once on the annual raise date. However, staff are able to career advance through the different positions that the Garden City Library offers as long as they meet the education requirements. Though in certain cases, certain staff members may be requested to take certain positions in career advancement opportunities. If the library feels that they want them specifically to take the position because they know they will do a position. For example, when the public service manager left this past July, they decided to appoint a new Public Service Assistant 2, a manager of the Public Service Assistant 1, Christina, who still works at the library, this position because she had become a public service assistant 1 for 10 years, and they felt she would do very well in the position as a manager. But this is in very special cases where they do not have someone lined up for this position and they believe a specific employee will do better than another employee. The first question, which we asked Lisa in our workforce planning section of our interview, is if the Garden City Library had any volunteer opportunities and what the impact on the library is for their volunteers. Lisa stated that the library does have quite an extensive amount of volunteers, as many individuals love the Garden City Library and enjoy volunteering there as in their free time, as it helps their community in a positive way. One of the main requirements to become a volunteer that Lisa mentioned is that the potential volunteer needs to be at least 14 years of age, as in the state of Idaho, you are not allowed to work before you are 14 years old, and the library essentially views volunteering as a work opportunity and abides by the law in the state. Anyone that is interested in volunteering at the library can go to the front desk and inquire about this and speak to their volunteer coordinator. And the coordinator can give them dates and times and specific information on what they specifically are allowed to volunteer on. From there, if a potential volunteer is still interested in volunteering, they can fill out a volunteer application that just has their general information so that the volunteer coordinator can get in contact with them and start them as their volunteer. Lisa stated that they believe the library has such a positive impact from volunteers, as when volunteers are able to help the library, it allows staff to stay on top of tasks that may add up. For example, at the front desk, the main staff's priority is public relations, so helping people that need assistance with certain tasks. If the staff is having to worry about shelving and cleaning and doing other situations, then they will take away that time from their ability to work in public relations. By having volunteers that do this allows the staff to have more of an impact on their community in a positive way, while also giving volunteers the opportunity to learn new skills and add these skills to their official resume, as well as great recognition and networking through the library staff. The second question, which we asked Lisa, was what is the absence policy for staff? Lisa stated that their first is always a sick policy place for staff that are feeling unwell or under the weather, so that they do not have to go to work and worry about infecting other individuals with their illness. This policy is very simple. It just asks that a staff member calls first their manager if they are on site, though if their manager is not on site, they ask them to call the manager that would be on site for the shift they are calling in sick for. They just ask, the manager will just ask them how long they think they'll be out for, and each day they ask the staff member to call in just to check whether or not they will be coming in this day. The other side of the policy is if a staff has requested more than 7 work days off in a month, the manager just requires a simple doctor note to ensure that the staff visit the doctor and make sure that they are all well before coming back to work. If the other aspect of the absence policy is emergency absences. If for whatever reason an emergency or a situation comes up in a staff's personal life and they are unable to make the shift, they ask that the staff member would call in, such as a sick policy, and just let their manager know what exactly is going on, and these will be recorded as sick days. The third question that we asked in our workforce planning section is how much are employees working? This is typically in 3-hour brackets. The first is the page, who deals with transits and typically works in the back. She only works 15 hours a week and gets additional hours when the library is closed due to the fact that they only work 15 hours. The next is the public service assistant 1, who works a total of 19 hours and is part-time. This staff member gets some paid holidays while others are unpaid, but is guaranteed all holidays paid. The last bracket is the supervisors and managers of the library who work 40 to 42 hours a week. They will work 42 hours a week as long as the library is open on their normal hours, meaning there are no holidays working. This position gets all of their holidays paid off as they are full-time employees of the library and enjoy all full-time benefits that the library provides. As college students at Boise State University, we were actually very interested in understanding why an individual would want to work at the Garden City Library rather than work at one of the larger libraries where they have more going on and more opportunities for employees. We asked Lisa what her specific selling points for employment at the Garden City Library and how this can affect one's decision when choosing where to work. Lisa stated since the Garden City Library is a small city, they get limited tax dollars towards the city's budgets, so the city is unable to offer as many financial perks as other cities. However, she stated one of the really nice perks about the Garden City Library is their financial benefits that they take into account. This includes when the Garden City Library is able to give the few benefits they do on top of a good working environment. Some of the benefits include 10 days of paid vacation time off every year for part-time employees, and this turns into 20 paid days of vacation time every year for full-time employees. You get birthday paid off. Since the library is closed on federal and national holidays, you are able to take those days off as well, most of which are paid for part-time employees and all of which that are paid for full-time employees. Some of the other selling points for employment that Lisa mentioned is that while they are in a very small environment and they do tend to be very close to the patrons that regularly come in, so that the employees are able to make more of a sense of community at their workplace, as well as many of the employees are very close to one another as it is a very small environment and everyone treats each other with respect as they are in such a small environment. The next question we asked Lisa on the employment strategy section is how current employees are able to retain their skills and how new employees learn these skills. Lisa let us know that in recent years at the library, they have changed a few ways on how they deal with keeping long-term employees. This is mainly due to the fact that certain long-term employees had to leave due to inflation costs and needed to seek out full-time employment. They found the best way to keep their long-term employees is to have an annual retraining in the month of October every year for established employees, so that established employees are able to refine their skills and ensure that they feel confident in their working environment, as they will have all the necessary skills to do their job. This is the same manual that comes out in the month of August to September, which new hires use. So both the new hires as well as established employees are being trained on the same information and are then gathered with the knowledge which both of them have. This allows staff to be able to know everything up to date and be very relatively informed on new incoming information as it comes out. As well, the other note that Lisa did make on employment strategies is the reason many staff love to be at the Garden City Library, even though there are limited advancement opportunities and limited budget, is because the employees do love the Garden City Library, as they find it is such a small and tight-knit community that they always have enjoyed being part of that and being able to serve that community.
The second HR practice we are going to speak about in this presentation is compensation and rewards. We're going to be covering benefits and programs, pay rates, and leave options for employees. At the Garden City Library, there are a few perks and advantages that are offered to employees to help attract people to the job. One of those perks includes a free coffee and tea bar located in the library, break room, and this is free for all employees to enjoy on their breaks or before they start their shift. The second benefit has to do with the opportunities that may arise from working there and the people you meet. On a daily basis, there's interaction not only with customers but coworkers, and these type of interactions allow their employees to meet and speak to people who they may have not encountered outside of the library. It's a great way for employees to build their communication skills as well. The Garden City Library has a unique and nowadays very rare attribute. The employees at the Garden City Library have very good job security. Because this is a city job, their employees are protected from being laid off in a case that there is an economic crisis in the U.S. Providing job security to employees allows them to feel more comfortable in the work as they know they will remain employed. And the Garden City Library also participates in PERSI, which is the Public Employee Retirement System in Idaho. This basically is just a benefit program that's offered to full-time employees who are planning out their retirement. They also offer their employees with retirement benefits, and these are things that include like 401k and Roth IRAs. There's also medical pay for 15 years into the retirement, and they do offer their employees early retirement plans as well. The pay rates at the Garden City Library are very dependent upon the applicant's level of experience and also taking into account their level of education as well. An applicant with, say, no experience and maybe no higher education or a bachelor's degree in biology would maybe start out about $18 an hour, whereas someone who has had prior library experience for, say, 6 years and has a degree in library science, they will likely earn closer to about $25 an hour. There definitely are several factors to take into account when determining an hourly wage for new employees, and that wage also shifts a little bit depending upon the position that they are applying for. When it comes to pay increases at the Garden City Library, there's no need for position advancement for pay increases. Each year prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, each employee would receive a base raise of around 3%. This rate was decided upon by the city of Boise based on regular economic changes and like patterns they've seen in the past. But in the years following the pandemic, there has been a 15% pay raise for each employee yearly. This base rate can be argued against if the employee feels as though their efforts have exceeded average, and the Garden City Library may grant or deny that pay raise request based on their own discretion. So, employees are paid through a system called Springbrook. Springbrook is a financial platform that is used by local governments, and because the Garden City Library is also run by the same administration as Garden City, that is what they use to pay their employees. So now we are going to be getting into different leave options for employees. So there's a varied amount of different leave options that are available to employees at the Garden City Library. These include things like paid time off, sick leave, and maternity leave. Maternity leave is something that's required to be provided by the state of Idaho, and that required providence includes 8 weeks of paid maternity leave, and then the library also allows their employees 4 additional weeks. However, those extra 4 weeks that the library provides are unpaid, whereas the 8 weeks are paid. Most employers have different conditions for benefits in terms of full-time versus part-time employees. These benefits vary depending on the classification, and that's no different at the Garden City Library. Those employees who are full-time employees are granted better benefits than those who are only part-time. The next HR practice that we're going to focus on for this presentation is training and workforce development. We will be discussing new employee training and established employee development. At the Garden City Library, They believe that the training process is something that really shouldn't be rushed, and the new employees should fully understand the scope of the job before being expected to do it on their own. The new hire will go through a training process for about 2 weeks where an on-site supervisor will guide them and be there to answer questions that the new hire may have. After those 2 weeks are up, the supervisor will kind of shadow the new employee, let them kind of do things on their own, but be there as an extra cushion so they can answer any questions or help them out with any confusions that they might have. And that shadow period will go on for a full week, so going into the 3rd week of training. If the supervisor notices that the new hire is struggling to grasp certain tasks or fail to understand some things, they will work with them extra to make sure it will be done correctly before kind of sending them out on their own. And then after the training process, the Garden City Library believes that their employees are confident in the tasks needed to complete their job. The reason that they're so confident in this is because of how thorough the training process is with these new hires. They really make it a point to make sure that their new hires know and feel comfortable doing their daily tasks before letting them work alone. When a new employee is working, there will almost never be another new employee scheduled on the floor with them, so that at all times there's an experienced employee to provide assistance if needed. In regards to established employees, the Garden City Library does an annual thing called upkeep training. This is basically just where established employees have the opportunity to speak with their advisors about areas where they feel they could use more training, and also areas where they just see an opportunity for improvement within themselves. After they talk to their advisor and kind of establish those areas that they could use improvement, there will be an upkeep training. It typically happens in December because that is one of the slower months at the library, so it really allows for the employees to have time on their shift to be trained in that chosen area. As far as new training with job advancement in the library, with job advancement comes a new set of responsibilities and tasks that need to be completed. Those tasks obviously vary from position to position, so when one person switches their job focus, they need to be trained in that new area of focus. And once a year, all of the employees are evaluated on their performance. Their supervisors will speak to them, speak to each employee about areas that they've personally seen that they need improvement, but they also will give feedback and compliments on areas where the employee is succeeding. And then that employee will go through training for the area pointed out by the supervisor during that December upkeep training. The fourth HR practice that we're going to be speaking about is employee and human resource relations. And in this section, we're going to be covering dealing with work issues and employee fulfillment. So when speaking with Lisa through our interview, she let us know that she is the first point of contact when it comes to any issues or conflicts that are going on at the Garden City Library. In smaller, kind of more internal issues, Lisa is able to solve or help resolve these issues. However, obviously there are some issues that cannot be handled specifically with just Lisa. So in this case, that an issue must be escalated, the second point of contact would be taken to the insurance company and kind of the lawyers. This typically often happens when a case is needing legal repercussions, such as if a case of sexual assault or harassment had occurred at the library. These are not issues, obviously, that can be handled internally, so obviously it needs to be escalated through to a third party like lawyers. In terms of employee fulfillment, employees at the Garden City Library feel very fulfilled in the work that they do. One of the reasons for this is because there's an opportunity for every single employee to move up the ladder and work towards higher positions and jobs. at the library. Allowing employees the opportunity for advancement gives them something to work towards and provides motivation to work hard at their job and kind of do the best that they can. Another reason that employees feel fulfillment from their job kind of has to do with the relationships that are built with the employees at the library. These relationships obviously can be built between coworkers and also between the customers that they see on a daily basis and the conversations that they have with those people. Employees also feel fulfillment by the fact that they're rewarded for the work with raises, and those raises are typically given out during the month of October and also on the anniversary of their employment date. So say that someone got hired on April 14th of 2020, they are going to get a raise the next year on April 14th of 2021.
The fifth HR practice we are going to be talking about is labor relations. In this section, we are going to be talking about job tasks and how they have changed over time, strategic future goals, and also our 10-year plan. Job tasks. How have these changed over time? Job tasks. How have these changed over time? Jobs and specific tasks have changed as time has evolved. Due to advances in technology, the way the library performs their work has become easier for employees. Lisa states that most of their tasks can be performed online, which allows for faster and more efficient work to be done throughout the course of the day. In the past, the same task would have taken much longer, leaving project deadlines to be more extensive. Technology has been a huge added bonus as it has saved the library time and money in various ways. These job tasks will continue to change as time has evolved, as it is important to be efficient as possible. When looking at the role of communication from management with these changes, it is very important, as you need to keep your employees up to speed at all times. This can be done through baseline training, allowing your employees to be able to work at various positions when needed. Strategic future goals. What are the goals for employees? For the future, the Garden City Library hopes to be able to expand their goals to their employees. Their hopes are to have their employees receive more training in order to be better equipped to deal with potential circumstances of the future. In today's world, anything can happen at any time, and Lisa wants to make sure employees are well prepared as they can be. Along with this, she would love to receive the funds needed to have all her employees become licensed notaries. When asked about goals for growth and expansion, Lisa stated there are very few opportunities. This is because the library has restricted funding and limited space. Typically, employees will look to move to bigger libraries if the opportunity arises, or will end up going to a college due to only taking internships. 10-year plan. Looking towards the future, Garden City Library
Sorry, slight technical difficulties.
Ten-year plan. Looking towards the future, Garden City Library wants to make huge strides. First, they would like to add 10,000 patrons to their system, meaning they would hope to gain 10,000 newcomers. Second, they would continue growing their book collection. Right now, they currently have 20,000 books, as they would like to create a new grand total of 60,000 over the next few years. Third, they would like to have their own independent building. As of right now, the library shares with City Hall workers. Lastly, they would hope to be able to extend their funding by $10,000 in order to fund 20 new job positions. Having more employees would allow for more work to get done and an overall increase in staffing.
Thank you for listening to our Human Resources Services interview presentation. Thank you for listening to our Human Resources Services interview presentation. Just to quickly wrap everything up, it is with these HR practices our interview candidate and manager for the Garden City Library, Lisa Levy, finds that employees of the public library feel safe, comfortable, and confident while at work, along with having clear responsibilities and expectations for themselves. This helps create a positive working environment and trust in their management and employer. Lisa not only manages the library, but as we previously mentioned, takes on the human resources role. With this, she oversees all 5 of the practices we mentioned and implements them how the library needs in order to be successful. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Again, we are Group 4. Let us know if you have any questions.